On a rainy night at the hospital, our monkey boy, Jung, knelt before his grandfather, tears streaming down his face. Although he was not his real grandfather, he pleaded with all his heart to become his disciple, yearning to be as great as the man he admired. His voice trembled with hope and desperation. His father, a confident and commanding figure, stood tall and firm. He ordered Jung to stand, scolding him for kneeling so carelessly. A man, he said, should never bow without purpose. Jung's tears fell harder, his emotions a tangled mess. If anyone asked why he sought help from an old man in a psychiatric hospital, he'd point to the past. The story rewinds 1 month to the moment everything changed. Jung, a nurse overwhelmed by his demanding job, trudged through another exhausting shift at the hospital. He muttered to himself, wishing misfortune on those who called male nursing a promising career. He had a date planned after work, and he was eager to finish his tasks quickly. His phone buzzed, and his face lit up at the sight of his girlfriend's name. He answered with warmth, calling her darling and savoring the surprise of her call, but her voice was cold and final. She announced their breakup, blunt and without warning. Jung's heart sank as he stammered, confused. Their last date had felt perfect, like a smooth breeze, until it wasn't. She reminded him of their last meeting, how everything was fine until they reached the motel. Something didn't click, she said, and with a curt farewell, she ended the call. Jung was left staring at his phone, heartbroken. Tears welled up as Jung mourned another failed relationship. Dumped over the phone, he felt the sting of rejection once again. In his 29 years, every romance had followed the same pattern. Blissful until they got close, only to end in disaster. He recalled being kicked out of the motel room, his pride shattered. In despair, he wondered if dating or marriage would forever remain a distant dream. His heart heavy, he questioned if he'd ever find love. Suddenly, his phone rang again, pulling him from his misery. It was Min, an old friend, her voice bright and cheerful. She asked how he was doing, and Jung admitted things weren't going great. Min, undeterred, invited him to work with her in Gangwon province. Jung hesitated, knowing Gangwon was far, a coastal region of South Korea, known for hosting the 2018 Winter Olympics and the 2024 Winter Youth Olympics. The idea of a fresh start tugged at him, but the distance felt daunting. But he still moved there. Jung sat lost in thought, his life feeling like a jumbled puzzle. He figured since everything was already a mess, maybe leaving for a new place wasn't such a bad idea. Nursing, despite its challenges, had one perk: jobs were easy to find anywhere, anytime. Suddenly, his childhood friend Min appeared and wrapped him in a warm hug. Jung winced, playfully begging her to be gentle. Min teased that a big guy like him couldn't possibly be hurt by her light squeeze. She handed him a lunchbox, scolding him for forgetting it. Min knew he was working overtime and insisted he shouldn't toil on an empty stomach. Jung thanked her, touched by her care. As a nutritionist at the hospital, Min always looked out for him. She made sure he never felt lonely or sad in the unfamiliar Gangwon province. Her kindness was a bright spot in his tiring days. Later, Min and Jung strolled through the hospital grounds. She asked how he liked their workplace, her voice full of pride. Jung was amazed to have the chance to work there. The Gangwon Psychiatric Hospital, nicknamed the Madhouse, wasn't what it seemed. To Jung, it felt more like a fancy resort for the wealthy and well-connected. They came to escape life's unavoidable troubles, taking a break from the world. Most patients were nylons, or bogus patients, faking their stay for personal reasons. This made the staff's jobs a breeze. Jung found the setup oddly comforting, like a quirky vacation spot. Min broke his thoughts, asking him to grab some eggs after work since she was out. Jung nodded, promising to pick them up. He smiled, thinking of their living arrangement. After taking the job offer, Jung had moved into Min's house due to a lack of time to find his own place. Though they were just childhood friends, living together felt strangely cozy, almost like newlyweds. The thought made him a bit nervous, but happy. Suddenly, an elderly man in a wheelchair rolled up and playfully grabbed Min's back, giggling about steamed buns. Min, startled, called out to the patient, trying to calm him. Jung recognized the man as his grandfather and gently asked if he wanted some steamed buns. His grandfather's eyes lit up, gleefully demanding buns with red bean paste. Jung suggested they go get some together. The old man cheered, promising to treat Jung to the tasty treats. Out of nowhere, Jung's grandfather's nurse rushed forward, scolding the old man for leaving his room. Jung asked if she was his grandfather's nurse. She nodded, admitting she'd taken a quick nap and felt guilty for the slip-up. Um, Jung's eyes as he noticed her charm and beauty. He thought to himself that she was absolutely stunning. The nurse thanked him for his help with his grandfather. Jung reflected that not every patient was a nylon faking their stay. Sometimes, like his grandfather, who had dementia, appeared in the hospital. It was a reminder of the job's variety. Suddenly, Min Jung with a playful frown. She asked if her backside looked like a steamed bun, referencing his grandfather's comment. Jung quickly reassured her it was just the ramblings of a dementia patient. Min declared she was going on a diet, determined to change. Jung urged her not to take the patient's words seriously. He insisted it was just harmless nonsense. Later that night, Jung sat at the hospital computer, lost in thought. He'd spent time comforting Min, and now it was time for his daily ward patrol. The hours had slipped by quickly. A doctor named Han approached, startling Jung. He jumped, thinking she was a ghost, then asked how he could assist her. His heart raced from the surprise. Dr. Han mentioned the patient Kim Soon-yeo and antibiotics. Jung confirmed he'd prepare a dose of mixed Tagocid and an NSS for her. She nodded shyly, staying silent. When Jung asked if she needed anything else, Dr. Han grabbed the supplies and hurried off. Jung chuckled to himself, noting how uneasy she seemed around men. It was just her usual shy nature. He recalled his first impression, thinking he'd done something wrong. But after learning she graduated from a women's university, her behavior made sense. It was just how she was. Jung sighed, preparing for his night shift patrol. He was supposed to have an assistant, but she was nowhere to be found. As a newbie, he accepted he'd have to handle it alone. Jung froze as strange noises echoed from room 201 nearby. Curiosity got the better of him, and he peeked inside. His jaw dropped at the sight before him. Inside, his grandfather, the dementia patient, was doing an energetic workout. Next to him was the nurse who had been searching for him earlier. Jung's mind raced with confusion. He recognized his grandfather as the one who had playfully grabbed Min's backside. Definitely his nurse, keeping a close eye on him. Jung couldn't believe what he was seeing. What in the world were they doing in a hospital room? The scene was so bizarre, it left him speechless. He stood there, trying to make sense of the odd situation. Jung hid in the shadows, secretly watching his grandfather and the nurse finish their lively workout. A pang of jealousy hit him as he marveled at his grandfather's charm. If he had such skills, maybe he'd have avoided all those romantic flops. The workout ended, and his grandfather suddenly called out, sensing Jung's presence. He teased if Jung was just checking to see if he was still kicking. Jung stammered, caught off guard, barely managing to say, "Grandpa." His grandfather told him to keep up the good work and shut the door. Jung quickly pushed it open, calling out to stop him. Desperate, he knelt and pleaded to become his grandfather's disciple, thus longing to be as impressive. The old man's voice boomed, ordering Jung to stand. A man, he said, should never kneel so carelessly. Jung's heart raced with hope. Clasping his grandfather's hands, Jung asked if he was accepted as a disciple. His grandfather smirked, questioning why he should teach him. He claimed his charm was a natural gift, a true blessing from above. Jung's face fell, stunned by the rejection. His grandfather went on, saying no simple tricks could turn Jung into a legend. He referenced the old tale of a carp jumping the Dragon Gate, a symbol of great transformation in Asian culture. He told Jung to act like he saw nothing and close the door again. The next day, Jung was back on duty, his mind buzzing. He refused to see himself as weak, like a mere carp. Frustration bubbled up as he thought about his grandfather's refusal. That old man was just being stubborn, Jung decided. From now on, he'd do whatever it took to convince him to share his secrets. Jung stepped into the cabin, beaming with enthusiasm. He greeted the old man he called Grandpa, reminding him of their steamed bun adventure from the day before. He held out a bag of fresh buns, saying he'd brought them because Grandpa craved them. The old man, not Jung's real grandfather, eyed him suspiciously. In his mind, he labeled Jung a sneaky fella. He bluntly refused the buns, claiming he didn't want them. Jung, puzzled, pressed him, recalling how much Grandpa had wanted them. The old man glanced at the nurse beside him, smirking. He said he'd enjoyed something even better than buns yesterday, mentioning taeok, a Korean rice cake snack. The nurse's face flushed red at his comment. Jung's thoughts raced, calling the old man a crafty codger. He couldn't believe his boldness. Grandpa turned to the nurse, suggesting they go for a walk. She nodded shyly, agreeing to join him. They started to leave the room. Jung called out, begging them to wait. But they walked off, leaving him alone. In his mind, he pleaded for his savior not to go, feeling the sting of rejection. Later, Jung sat at the hospital computer, lost in thought. He wondered if he could use Grandpa's close bond with the nurse to nudge him into sharing his secrets. The idea felt risky, but tempting. Suddenly, Nurse Kang, the head nurse in charge of Jung, appeared. She scolded him for slouching over the desk, warning it might spark patient gossip. She told him to run some errands. Jung grumbled but agreed, knowing she was his boss. He noted how fresh and polished she looked, wondering where she'd been resting. Still, he figured the job was worth it. Out of the blue, Jung asked about a patient named Park Deok Man in the VIP room. Nurse Kang casually referred to him as President Park. Jung's eyes widened in confusion. She explained that Park Deok Man was the president of Sanghae Group, a massive company. Jung gasped, realizing why the name sounded familiar. It was that huge corporation he'd heard of before. Jung's mind spiraled with frustration. He worried that blackmailing the old man would be a one-way ticket to disaster. His nerves jangled at the thought of losing everything. Nurse Kang broke his thoughts, commenting on the patient, President Park. She noted that despite his wealth as a K-ball, a powerful businessman, his children had left him in the hospital since his dementia diagnosis. It was a sad reality behind his status. Jung reflected silently, seeing through the old man's innocent act. He was convinced Grandpa was hiding something big. That secret still lingered out of reach. Suddenly, Nurse Kang leaned closer to the computer, pointing out Jung's messy chart work. She remarked that she didn't know how brilliant he was at his old hospital. Her tone was sharp and critical. Jung's thoughts raced as he noticed her leaning too close. He panicked, thinking if he mentioned her closeness, she'd accuse him of inappropriate behavior. His life felt like a total mess. Desperate to escape, Jung blurted out that he needed the bathroom. He bolted from the room. His heart pounded as he fled the awkward moment. In the bathroom, Jung sighed, feeling like nothing was going right. Just then, the old man he called Grandpa strolled in. They stood side by side, taking care of business. Grandpa spoke up, asking if Jung had given up on his quest. Jung firmly declared he hadn't, calling him Sir. The old man repeated that his charm was a natural gift, impossible to teach. Suddenly, Grandpa's eyes widened, noticing the pistol of Jung. He called the pistol a monster, shocked that such a grand feature could be considered useless. He questioned if it was really broken, his tone full of surprise. Jung froze, caught off guard by the old man's bold words. Jung's thoughts wandered as he sat with the old man. He recalled how, as a student, he was often praised for his impressive feature. He believed no one could match his remarkable size, expecting it to win hearts, but reality proved otherwise. Flashing back to a moment before his breakup, Jung and his ex-girlfriend were about to start a workout together. She stopped him abruptly, eyes wide at his notable feature. She warned that his monster might be too much, halting their plans. Back in the present, Jung and the old man sat together, sipping tea. The old man asked if women fled after seeing Jung's impressive feature. Jung admitted he'd tried a few times, but everyone complained it was too much, leaving him unable to finish. The old man shook his head, calling Jung a frustrated lad. He revealed that his own feature was just as impressive in his youth. He turned to his nurse, sharing the tale, and her face turned beet red with shock. He clicked his tongue, saying a coward couldn't make use of such a gift. Physical traits were a talent, he added, giving Jung a glimmer of potential. Jung's eyes lit up with hope. Sipping his tea, the old man agreed to take Jung as his disciple. Jung's heart soared, and he thanked him profusely, calling him Sir. He felt like he owed him everything. The old man cautioned that theory alone wasn't enough. Learning required a practice partner, he said. Jung nodded, eager but unsure where to start. Suddenly, Nurse Kang barged in, scolding Jung for slacking off. She demanded to know why he hadn't finished cleaning, frustrated that he was new, yet already dodging duties. Her voice was sharp and impatient. The old man's nurse stepped in, pointing to her patient. She explained he was the former CEO of Sangha Group, a big name until 2 years ago, and likely mistook Jung for an old subordinate. She promised to send Jung back soon, asking for a little patience. Nurse Kang sighed and agreed to wait. She sternly told Jung to wrap things up and return quickly. She added that they could only start when Yongmin arrived. Her tone was sharp, leaving no room for excuses. After Kang left, Jung turned to the old man, addressing him as Sir. He asked if someone as bold as Kang could be humbled. His voice carried a mix of frustration and curiosity. The old man raised an eyebrow, prompting Jung to explain. Jung vented that Kang accused him of getting his job through shady means. He fumed at her rudeness, eager to put her in her place. The old man nodded, advising Jung to use the same approach for both charm and words. He shared a few clever tips before Jung headed out. The advice sparked a flicker of confidence in Jung. Later, Kang walked alone through the hospital corridor, lost in thought. She questioned whether to trust the old man's guidance. With no better options, she decided to give it a try. Jung approached her, and Kang snapped, asking why he took so long. She accused him of sneaking out of the office. Her words stung, but Jung held his tongue. In his mind, Jung grumbled about working alone while she was gone. He reminded himself to stay calm and follow the old man's strategy. Sitting beside her, he prepared to put the plan into action. Jung apologized smoothly, asking where he should start. He began with light, charming words, hoping to ease the tension. In his head, he wondered if this was what the old man meant by flirting. Kang's face turned red, caught off guard by his approach. She mumbled that she'd already finished the work, as it was a patient's order. She brushed it off, saying it couldn't be helped. Jung's thoughts raced with excitement. The strategy was actually working. Feeling lucky, he resolved to keep up the charm and see where it led. For weeks, Jung faithfully followed the old man's strategy to win over Nurse Kang. The plan was simple: small gifts, clever compliments, and gentle touches. To his surprise, it worked far better than expected, relying mostly on his natural charm. Jung marveled at how well things were going. However, he worried that sticking to light flirting might lead to bigger problems. The old man's ability to predict success from a single glance left him in awe. Determined to take the next step, Jung planned a bold move. He needed a private moment with Kang, free from interruptions. The night shift in a quiet ward full of beds seemed perfect. Everything was set for his big moment with Kang. Jung silently prayed for his master's blessing. Failure could mean more than just quitting his job. It might land him in serious trouble. Jung pushed aside his fears, reminding himself it wasn't just about strategy. With a deep breath, he reached out and touched Kang's favorite gaming mouse. His heart pounded as he committed to the moment. Kang let out a startled squeak, her eyes wide with surprise. Jung's mind raced, realizing there was no turning back now. The bold move had been made, and the outcome hung in the balance. Nurse Kang shot Jung a fiery glare, demanding to know what he was doing. Jung stammered, nervously blurting out a compliment about her fancy gaming mouse. Realizing his mistake, he quickly apologized, calling it a silly, unconscious slip. Kang's face fell, filled with disappointment. Without a word, she turned and ran off. Jung stood frozen, regretting his clumsy move. Furious, Jung stormed into the old man's cabin, calling him master. He accused him of leading him astray, worried he'd lose his job over the fiasco. He demanded that the old man take responsibility. The old man raised a hand, urging Jung to calm down. He asked what happened, assuring him everything was still on track. Jung, confused, asked what he meant. Jung explained that Kang had glared at him angrily before running away. The old man nodded, saying it was perfect for moving to the next step. He shared more clever tips to guide Jung forward. After listening carefully, Jung agreed to follow his master's advice. He felt a mix of doubt and determination. The old man wished him luck with a sly grin. Hesitating, Jung asked a bold question. He wondered if the old man had charmed every woman in the hospital. His curiosity bubbled over, eager for the truth. The old man burst into hearty laughter, nearly choking on his surprise. He brushed off the question, saying it wasn't like that. He told Jung not to worry, claiming he just knew the game well. The old man chuckled, waving off Jung's question. He declared he was too old for chasing thrills, content with his nurse by his side. He scoffed at the idea of stealing anyone's affection, saying he had a conscience. Jung blinked, confused by the term NTR. The old man teased him for not knowing the basics, suggesting he check out some top-tune comics. He insisted he didn't snatch opportunities from others. Jung nodded and left, determined to stick to the plan. He set his sights on meeting Kang the next night. His resolve was firm, ready to make his move. Later, Jung found Kang and called her Sunbae, a friendly yet respectful term for a senior. He apologized for his earlier blunder, admitting he got carried away. He stammered that his words came from genuine admiration of her charm. Inside, Jung's nerves were on edge, begging for her to respond. He felt like sinking into the floor from embarrassment, regretting he followed the old man's advice. His self-doubt screamed at him to give up. Then he noticed Kang's cheeks flush red. Jung's heart skipped, stunned to see her shift from anger to a shy, warm expression. He wondered if this was a sign she was opening up to him. Fear crept in, though, as Jung worried she might bolt if she saw his rare weapon skin. Pushing past his doubts, they started a friendly Valorant gaming session. After gaming with Kang all night, Jung felt a surge of triumph. He thought to himself that he'd somehow pulled off his mission. The night had gone better than he'd hoped. The next day, Jung rushed to the old man, eager to share every detail. The old man sipped his tea, nodding with approval. He praised Jung for a job well done. Jung beamed, asking if Kang was totally hooked on his charm. He sought confirmation that he'd done well. His excitement bubbled over, seeking his master's praise. The old man agreed, but added a caution. He questioned if Jung's approach would work a second time. His words left Jung pondering, unsure of what came next. Jung blinked in confusion, asking if the old man meant trying his charm on a second girl. The old man laughed, calling him an impatient young lad. He clarified he meant Jung and Nurse Kang spending time together again, noting she wasn't fully won over yet. He urged Jung to think back on what happened. Jung's mind flashed to the previous night's Valorant session, where he beat Kang, leaving her upset and teary. The memory hit him clearly. Jung nodded, confirming he remembered the moment. The old man smirked, saying Kang might seem like a dream come true. But without skill, he warned, the spark could fade fast. The old man leaned in, stressing the goal was to make Kang completely devoted. He wanted her to feel she couldn't live without Jung. His words carried a sly, confident tone. Jung eagerly asked for the next step, addressing him as master. The old man paused, then asked if Jung liked baseball. The question caught Jung off guard, leaving him puzzled. Later that afternoon, Jung sat alone at the hospital computer, working on charts. His mind wandered to the old man's mention of baseball, wondering what it meant. The sudden topic shift felt odd and unclear. Dr. Han, the shy doctor, approached hesitantly. She asked if Jung had the patient charts for the third floor. Her voice was soft, barely above a whisper. Jung started to hand over the charts, but a cheerful nurse burst in with a lunch bag. She announced it was time for everyone to head to the lounge for a meal. Her energy filled the room. The nurse turned to Dr. Han, inviting her to join since she'd skipped dinner. Han hesitated, but agreed with a shy nod. Jung and his coworkers sat around a table, the food spread out looking tasty. Jung remarked on how delicious it all seemed. The cheerful nurse smiled, saying the dishes came from a great snack bar at Junggang Market. She urged Jung to dig in, noting he must be tired from arranging new medical equipment. Jung thanked her, eager to eat. In his mind, he thought about how much he liked the hospital's easy work and friendly staff, except for one person, Kang, who sat there acting innocent. Kang commented on the food, pointing out the snack bar served whole fish cake skewers, unlike other places that cut them. She found it tricky to eat. Jung grinned, teasing that she could handle even a bigger, thicker skewer in one bite. Kang's face turned bright red, and she sputtered, spitting out her food. She glared at Jung, startled by his bold comment. Jung quickly clarified, saying the skewer looked thicker because of something stuck in the middle. Choking on his own food, Jung stuffed his mouth and mumbled about the size being too much for him. He added that some people could handle it in one bite. Kang's eyes narrowed, her anger barely contained. The cheerful nurse jumped in, warning Jung not to stir up trouble. Jung laughed it off, calling it just a junior's affection for his senior. He tried to play it cool, keeping the mood light. The nurse wasn't convinced, teasing that there was something going on between Ying and Kang. She insisted the vibe felt strange. Jung shrugged, claiming it was just pure respect. The nurse shook her head, saying the atmosphere was too weird for that. Jung noticed Dr. Han's face glowing bright red at the table. He thought to himself that his little joke had her trembling. It amazed him to see someone so shy at her age. Later that night, outside the hospital, Kang confronted Jung angrily. She demanded to know what he was playing at with his comments. She asked if he thought it was all a big joke. Jung played innocent, saying he was just being honest. Kang snapped, calling him awful. She admitted his words the previous day caught her off guard, but insisted it meant nothing. She shouted that nothing would ever happen between them. Jung grabbed her hand, asking what she meant by nothing. He teased if it was truly meaningless, maybe they should test it. Kang yelled for him to stop staring at her, her face flushed with frustration. The two bickered back and forth for a while. Eventually, they agreed to cool off by playing their game again. After finishing the game with Kang, Jung felt a rush of victory. He thought to himself that his mission was complete. The night's success left him grinning. The next day, Jung strolled through the hospital, his steps light and cheerful. He reflected that his charm had worked well on Kang so far. Glancing at her, he sensed a spark in her eyes, tempting him to flirt again after work. Later, Jung entered Dr. Han's room, carrying a patient chart. He called out to her, noticing she was napping. The quiet moment caught him off guard. In his mind, Jung noted how Han usually avoided him when he entered. He wondered why she shied away from men, thinking her beauty was wasted. As he stared, the chart slipped from his hands, hitting the floor. Jung cursed under his breath, frustrated at his clumsiness. The noise woke Han, and he stammered, explaining he was just dropping off the chart, his face flushed with embarrassment. Han nodded, acknowledging the chart, but suddenly froze. Her face turned bright red as she noticed her coat had shifted, revealing a bit too much. She pleaded for Jung to leave the chart and go. Jung quickly agreed and hurried out. As he left, he thought about how unguarded she'd been, especially with male patients around. He found her drowsy state oddly charming. His mind wandered, wondering what it would be like to connect with someone so innocent. He considered asking his master for advice, but brushed it off. Confident from winning over Kang, he decided to rely on his learned skills and try again with Han. Determined to win over Dr. Han, Jung sprang into action. He lingered near her, offering help and showering her with compliments. He even made sure her favorite drinks were always ready. At the vending machine, Jung spotted Han and rushed over, asking if she was thirsty. Han jumped, startled by his sudden appearance. Jung offered to buy her a drink, grinning widely. In his mind, Jung thought her surprised squeak was adorable. Han hesitated, thinking for a moment. Suddenly, she shouted at him, her voice sharp. She told Jung to stop, overwhelmed by his constant attention. Her words were firm, pleading for him to quit staring at her. Before Jung could respond, she turned and ran off. Jung stood there, frustrated and confused. He wondered why his usual tricks didn't work this time. His confidence took a hit. Later, he sought out the old man, eager for answers. The old man shook his head, calling Jung naive for thinking one approach worked on every woman. Jung watched her, his mind racing with suspicion. He wondered if she was doing this on purpose to get his attention. A spark of excitement hit him, thinking this could be his big chance. In his head, Jung imagined impressing her so much it would outshine his master's charm. A day earlier at the hospital, the old man spoke privately with his nurse. He believed Jung needed her help to grow. His tone was serious yet sly. He noted Jung's recent success had gone to his head. The old man said Jung needed to face tough challenges to truly become a master. He asked the nurse to give Jung a special private lesson. Back in the present, Jung and the nurse sat together to play video games. Jung leaned in, asking her not to tell the old man about their gaming session. After outplaying the nurse in their game, Jung felt transformed. He thought to himself that the old, unsure Jung was gone. A new, confident version had taken his place. The next day at the hospital, the old man greeted Jung with a sly grin. He asked if anything special happened the previous night. His tone hinted at knowing something. Jung stammered, nervous about what the old man meant. He feared his secret gaming session with the nurse was exposed. His heart raced with worry. The old man clarified, mentioning the loud typhoon that swept through. Jung exhaled, relieved it was just about the storm. He said he was fine at home, covering his panic. In his mind, Jung admitted the scare nearly shook him. He thought he'd been caught for sure. The close call left his nerves jangling. The old man continued, saying his nurse couldn't come today because her house lost power. He started to share something else, but Jung cut him off. Bursting out, Jung claimed he forgot to scan a document and bolted. The old man chuckled, saying Jung startled him with his sudden exit. He shook his head, amused by the young man's antics. Jung's quick escape left him grinning. Outside, Jung caught his breath, relieved to have dodged suspicion. He cursed himself for nearly overreacting to the old man's words. The thrill of the game with the nurse still buzzed in his mind. He recalled how lively she seemed compared to her time with the old man. Thanks to her, he'd picked up some clever new tricks. He itched to test them out right away. Suddenly, Jung spotted Nurse Kang approaching, dressed in a stylish outfit. He cheered to himself at the perfect timing. His confidence surged, ready to charm her. Jung out, greeting Kang as Sunbae and noting it wasn't her shift. Kang explained she stopped by to pick up something she forgot. Her voice was casual but warm. Jung smiled, saying he was glad to run into her. He admitted she popped into his mind just as she appeared. With a playful tone, he said he missed her. Kang felt what Jung was thinking, so she asked what he was scheming. Then started another Valorant session together. After dominating Nurse Kang, Jung felt a surge of confidence. He thought to himself that he no longer needed the old man's guidance. His next goal was to win over Dr. Han. Later, Jung and Kang waited in Han's office for a chance to speak with her. Han was busy talking to a patient. Jung, feeling bold, playfully teased Kang from behind. Kang spun around, scolding him for goofing off during work. Her voice was sharp with annoyance. Jung grinned, unfazed by her reaction. In his mind, Jung reflected on using the tricks he learned from the old man's nurse on Kang. He wondered if the same approach could work on Han. The challenge excited him. Han turned to Kang, asking her to escort the patient to the endocrinology ward. Jung saw his opening and formed a plan. He stood up, ready to make his move. Jung addressed Han, noting her discomfort around men. He suggested it wasn't fair to act that way toward patients. His tone was light but pointed. Han stammered, admitting she'd tried to overcome her shyness but failed. She sounded frustrated, like it was out of her control. Jung leaned in, seizing the moment. He questioned if she'd truly tried to fix it. Han looked confused, unsure of his meaning. Jung pressed on, offering to help her get comfortable around men. That night, Jung invited Dr. Han to meet him in a quiet hospital room. Han arrived, her mind swirling with doubt. She questioned if coming was the right choice, uneasy about his secretive request. She worried he might have strange intentions. Her instincts screamed to leave, planning to apologize later. She stood up, ready to bolt. Jung entered, spotting her still there. Han stammered, asking him to stay back, admitting her nerves. Her voice trembled, revealing her anxiety. Jung nodded, agreeing to keep his distance. In his mind, he admired her courage for staying alone with him. Her shy nature made the moment feel like a big step. Han hesitated, then asked how he could help her. Jung suggested she sit, framing it like a friendly consultation. He said it depended on her specific struggles. Han sat down, following his lead. Jung's thoughts buzzed with excitement, noting she was falling into his rhythm. He felt confident, ready to guide her. Jung asked what about men made her uneasy. Han explained it was more fear than discomfort, triggered by their size and deep voices. She could manage her fear at work, but touching men was overwhelming. In her mind, Han felt a wave of relief after sharing her feelings aloud. Opening up eased her tension slightly. She looked at Jung, waiting for his response. Jung smiled, saying he had a solution in mind. He asked if she wanted to hear it. Han tilted her head, curious about Jung's solution. Jung explained he'd sit still in a chair, letting her touch his arms or shoulders. He suggested getting familiar with a man's presence could help her feel comfortable with male patients. He called it special help, emphasizing his good intentions. Han paused, then asked to add one condition. She grabbed a rope and tied Jung to the chair, ensuring he couldn't move. Jung, surprised, asked if tying him up was really necessary. He promised he wouldn't budge an inch. His voice carried a hint of nervousness. Han insisted it was the only way she'd feel safe. Her hands trembled slightly as she secured the knots. She needed this control to ease her fears. Jung's mind raced, frustrated that he couldn't make his next move while tied up. He felt stuck, unable to act. The situation was slipping out of his control. Han hesitated, then asked if he could close his eyes. Jung agreed, shutting his eyes to follow her lead. To his surprise, she tied a blindfold over them. With Jung bound and blindfolded, Han set up a video game on a nearby screen. She started playing, but Jung's usual game tricks weren't working. After guiding Dr. Han through the video game, Jung offered to keep helping her. He said he'd work to ease her fear of men. He added one condition: she should follow his lead alone. Han nodded, agreeing to his terms. Her shy acceptance surprised him. Jung felt a rush of victory. In his mind, Jung celebrated his success. Despite an unexpected twist with the blindfold and game, he'd pulled it off. He sensed his confidence growing stronger. Unbeknownst to them, the old man's personal nurse watched from the shadows. At work the next day, Jung noticed Dr. Han's absence. He asked a coworker if she had called in sick. The nurse confirmed Han was under the weather, her voice sounding rough, possibly from a cold. Jung wondered if he was the cause. He recalled her loud reactions during their gaming session, feeling a twinge of guilt. He considered checking on her to make sure she was okay. Later, Jung visited the hospital kitchen and found Min. She asked what brought him there. Jung requested a pack of porridge, keeping his tone casual. Min raised an eyebrow, curious about his plans for the porridge. Jung explained it was for someone who was sick. He hesitated, not revealing who it was for. Min's face flushed with anger, guessing it was for a girl. She demanded to know if she was right. Her voice grew sharp with jealousy. Jung admitted it was for a girl, asking why it mattered. Min's cheeks burned redder, her frustration spilling over. She complained that Jung was always out late, leaving them little time together, and now he was talking about other girls. She shoved the porridge bag at him, still fuming. Jung playfully pinched her cheek, calling her a cutie and asking why she was so upset. His teasing only made her squirm. Min told him to let go, her voice a mix of anger and embarrassment. Jung promised to come home early and suggested they have dinner together. He tried to lighten her mood with a grin. Min snapped that she didn't need him and would eat alone. Jung offered to buy fried chicken on his way home. At the mention of chicken, Min's anger softened, her eyes lighting up. Jung walked through the hospital, planning his next steps. He decided to drop off the porridge for Dr. Han, then grab some fried chicken before heading home. In his mind, he wondered if girls often felt unwell after their first close encounter, but figured it wasn't too serious. Suddenly, the old man's nurse called out to him from behind. She mentioned hearing that Dr. Han had taken sick leave today. Her tone was casual but curious. Jung confirmed Han's absence, asking if the nurse had an appointment with her. The nurse shook her head, suggesting they step inside to chat for a bit. Jung followed her, intrigued by the invitation. Inside, Jung asked if the old man was around. The nurse explained he'd gone to Seoul for a trial. Jung's eyes widened, surprised by the news. She pointed to a TV screen showing a news report. It stated that at 11:20 a.m., Sangha Group Chairman Park Deok-man attended a trial at the Seoul Central District Court for alleged improper gifts. The anchor's voice was clear and serious. Jung gasped, shocked that the old man, whom he thought had dementia, was involved in such a case. He questioned how someone with his condition could face a trial. His mind spun with disbelief. The nurse explained that dementia symptoms differ from person to person. She quickly changed the subject, asking Jung for a favor. She sent him to fetch some medicine, keeping her request simple. As Jung walked away, he debated calling the old man. A trial seemed like a big deal, but the old man hadn't mentioned it. He wondered if he was overthinking it. Frustrated, Jung decided he didn't care about the secrecy. He pulled out his phone to call his master. The urge to know more pushed him to act. Meanwhile, the old man sat in his office, puzzled by Jung's unexpected call. He wondered what prompted the young man to reach out first. His curiosity piqued as he answered the phone. Jung's voice burst through, surprised that the old man picked up so quickly. He mentioned hearing about the trial, thinking it was still ongoing. His tone carried a mix of concern and relief. The old man explained that his nurse must have told Jung about it. He said the trial was already over and wasn't a big deal. He brushed it off with a calm confidence. Jung asked for confirmation, still processing the news. The old man reassured him, saying he handled everything well. He told Jung not to worry about him. Jung laughed, saying he just wanted to check on his master. His voice was light, trying to keep things friendly. He felt relieved to hear all was fine. Suddenly, a woman's voice came through the phone, catching Jung off guard. He wondered what the old man was up to. Jung's voice wavered as he asked if the old man was working out right then. In his mind, he scolded himself for worrying about his master. The unexpected woman's voice had thrown him off. The old man laughed, admitting his soul friend was eager for some workout time after a while. He spoke casually, as if it were no big deal. Jung's jaw dropped at the boldness. Jung asked, shocked, how many close friends the old man had across the country. The old man chuckled, saying he'd never bothered to count. He reminded Jung it was just a phone call and offered another life lesson. Jung eagerly agreed to listen, grateful for more advice. The old man's voice grew serious. He warned Jung never to be too easygoing with affection. Jung sounded confused, asking for clarification. The old man explained that accepting every girl who flattered him was a mistake. Without constant effort to refine his charm, even great skills would fade. Jung's thoughts swirled, each word sinking deep into his mind. The advice felt like a lesson carved in stone. He hung on to every syllable, absorbing the wisdom. The old man continued, stressing the need to take charge in workout sessions. He emphasized leading with confidence at all costs. He added a final tip to always offer a warm hug at the end. With that, the old man hung up, leaving Jung stunned. Jung stood frozen, his mind reeling from the old man's advice. He thought to himself that he still had a long road ahead to master these skills. The weight of his journey felt heavy but exciting. Meanwhile, the old man sat in his office, flipping through Jung's biodata. He muttered that things had unfolded as expected. He decided it was time to plan something new for his young disciple. At the same time, Dr. Han rested in her room, feeling better than expected. She debated going out instead of staying in bed. Guilt from the previous day's events stopped her as she dreaded facing Jung. A sudden knock at her door startled Han. She called out, asking who it was. A voice replied, identifying itself as a doctor, making her heart skip. Han opened the door, shocked to see Jung standing there with Ari, the old man's nurse. She stammered, confused about why they were together. A few hours earlier at the hospital, Ari, the old man's nurse, spotted Jung with a bag of porridge. She asked if he was visiting Dr. Han, curious how he knew her address. Her tone was light but probing. Jung explained he found Han's address on the staff contact network. He checked it beforehand to prepare for the visit. Ari nodded, then offered to come along. Jung was surprised but agreed it was fine. In his mind, he wondered if Ari and Han were close friends. Her sudden interest in joining him raised questions. Back in the present, Han stood at her door, still shocked to see Jung and Ari together. She asked if Ari was Mr. Park Bookman's caregiver. Her voice trembled with confusion. Jung, equally surprised, asked if they weren't close. Ari clarified she never said they were. Jung started to explain, but Han cut in, inviting them inside. They sat together in Han's room, the air a bit tense. Jung explained that Ari offered to visit Han with him. He kept his tone casual, trying to ease the awkwardness. Han greeted Ari shyly, her cheeks slightly pink. Jung turned to Ari, asking why she wanted to come along. Ari just smiled, keeping her reasons to herself. Ari turned to Han, noting her usual discomfort around men. She pointed out Han seemed fine with Jung. With a teasing grin, she asked if something was going on between them. Han's mind raced with panic. She worried that she and Jung had been caught. If word got out at work about their workout moment, she feared it would ruin everything. Jung, brimming with confidence, spoke up. He explained he was helping Han feel more comfortable around men. He questioned why Ari was asking such things and why she came along. Ari laughed, calling herself silly. She said she brought something for Han, but left it in the car. She asked Jung to fetch it, her tone sweet and insistent. Jung raised an eyebrow, suspicious of her sudden request. He pointed out she could get it herself. Ari pleaded playfully, urging him to help. Jung sighed, agreeing to go but promising to return quickly. He left the room, leaving Han and Ari alone. The air grew tense with his absence. Ari suddenly grabbed Han's arm, startling her. She revealed she saw what happened between Han and Jung in the office yesterday. Han stammered, caught off guard. Ari reassured her not to worry. She heard Jung was helping Han get used to men. Her voice was calm, easing Han's fears. Han nodded, confirming it was true. Ari smiled, offering to help with the same goal. Han hesitated, surprised by the offer but unable to refuse. The two women teamed up, setting up a video game to play as a duo. After a while, Jung returned, and they invited him to join, forming a lively trio squad. The next day at the hospital, Jung dragged his feet, exhausted. Despite his tiredness, he couldn't stop grinning. Memories of the previous night's gaming session filled him with joy. His cheeks flushed red with happiness as he thought back. The old man approached, noticing Jung's bright expression. He commented that Jung looked pleased with himself. Jung jumped, startled by his master's sudden appearance. He greeted him warmly, asking about his trip to Seoul. His voice was eager, trying to shift focus. The old man replied that the trip went well. He leaned in, reminding Jung he'd asked him to take good care of his nurse while he was gone. Jung hesitated, unsure how to respond about the nurse. His thoughts raced, wondering how much the old man knew. He feared his secret gaming session might have been discovered. The old man beckoned Jung to follow him into his private room. He said their talk wasn't for outside ears. His tone was serious, making Jung's stomach twist. Jung's mind spiraled, convinced he was in big trouble. He worried he'd face punishment for his bold moves. He decided to gauge how much the old man knew before saying anything. Inside the room, the old man suddenly tapped Jung's leg with his foot, causing him to kneel. He smirked, saying it was fitting to see a timid guy like Jung bow down. He remarked that he couldn't believe Jung pulled off such a stunt. Jung, trembling, asked if the old man knew everything. The old man nodded, admitting it was all part of his plan. He revealed he had orchestrated the whole thing. Jung's thoughts clicked, realizing the nurse's actions were the old man's idea from the start. He asked if it was a test. His voice wavered with shock and curiosity. The old man shrugged, agreeing it could be seen as a test. He asked how his nurse did as Jung's helper. His grin suggested he already knew the answer. Jung thought to himself that the nurse had indeed been amazing. Thanks to her, he gained the confidence to charm Kang and Han. Her guidance had worked wonders. The old man explained that learning needed practice to stick. He called his nurse the result of his careful training, able to teach Jung things he couldn't. His pride in her was clear. Jung asked why he wasn't told about the plan up front. The old man leaned forward, explaining that revealing his plan beforehand could have thrown Jung off. He said even a tiny distracting thought could ruin a perfect performance. His words were sharp, meant to teach a lesson. Jung's eyes welled up, overwhelmed by gratitude. He thought to himself that his master was generously sharing all his wisdom. To him, the old man was a true teacher. Jung bowed his head, admitting he'd been foolishly cocky. He hadn't seen how much his master had done for him. From now on, he vowed to call him master with genuine respect, not just as a casual phrase. He offered to accept any punishment for his actions. His voice trembled with sincerity. Jung felt ready to make amends for his arrogance. The old man chuckled, asking what punishment Jung expected when it was all part of his plan. Jung, confused, questioned why he'd been kicked and made to kneel. His tone mixed with curiosity and regret. The old man grinned, saying Jung deserved a small tap to keep him in check. He called it a substitute for something bigger. He hinted at needing Jung's help for a future task. He warned that young people often get too proud after a little success. He pointed out Jung had fallen into that trap. His voice was firm but kind. The old man stressed that the more things went well, the humbler Jung needed to be. Otherwise, he'd face betrayal sooner or later. His advice carried the weight of experience. Later, Jung walked alone, reflecting on his master's words. He realized he'd grown smug, thinking women fell for him too easily. The lesson hit hard, making him see the world clearly again. He admitted he'd been resting on his small victories. The old man's wisdom felt like a wake-up call. Jung vowed to stay humble and keep learning. Jung arrived home, surprised to find it dark and quiet. He wondered why Min hadn't returned yet. Flicking on the lights, he spotted her sitting alone, her face shadowed. Startled, Jung asked why she was sitting in the dark, looking so upset. Min snapped, telling him not to touch her. Her voice was sharp, calling him a jerk. Jung, confused, asked why she was so angry with him. Then it hit him. He'd forgotten his promise to have dinner together. His unexpected night at Dr. Han's house had thrown him off. Guilt washed over Jung as he realized his mistake. He asked Min if she'd waited long, his voice soft with regret. Min's eyes glistened, on the verge of tears. Jung apologized, explaining an urgent matter came up. He offered to do anything to make up for it. He urged her to name her wish, eager to fix things. Min, skeptical, asked if he meant anything. Jung nodded, suggesting something she might want to buy. Suddenly, Min grabbed his collar, her face fierce. She demanded he keep his Saturday free. If he agreed to be her helper all day, she'd forgive him. Her tone was firm, leaving no room for argument. Jung's eyes widened, surprised by her bold demand. On Saturday morning, Jung was still fast asleep in his room. Min burst in, startling him awake. She shouted for him to get up, calling him her helper for the day. She yanked his blanket away, then gasped and shut her eyes. She'd caught a glimpse of his impressive gaming gear, her face flushed with shock. Jung, groggy and annoyed, demanded to know why she barged in. Min stammered, yelling that he was the one acting crazy. She called him a weirdo, flustered by the unexpected sight. Jung shot back, saying she was the real weirdo for storming in and staring. He argued she was the one who intruded on his privacy. His voice rose with frustration. Min shouted at him to stop saying such things, still calling him a weirdo. Jung asked why she'd burst into his room in the first place. He tried to keep his cool despite the chaos. Min reminded him of his promise to spend the day with her. She was insistent, her tone sharp but hurt. Jung sighed, realizing he couldn't back out. Later, they stepped out together, dressed sharply like a stylish pair. Jung suggested that if Min wanted to hang out, she could have just said so. He teased her about the whole helper demand, finding it over the top. Min snapped that she didn't want to just hang out. She declared he was her helper today, and he had to follow her lead. Her words were firm, setting the rules for the day. Jung, caught off guard, mumbled his agreement. He called her master, playing along with a grin. He asked what they should do first, ready to follow her plan. Min eyed Jung thoughtfully, deciding his hair needed fixing first. She led him to a barber shop where he sat with his hair tied up. Jung grumbled, asking if this was really necessary and worth the fuss. Min insisted it was, refusing to be seen with an outdated helper. Jung thought to himself that she called his style rustic, despite it being like a top-tune hero's look. He felt skeptical about the whole makeover. Jung muttered that a perm wouldn't make much difference. After the haircut, he caught his reflection and was stunned. In his mind, he admitted it was a total game changer, far better than he expected. Min asked what he thought, beaming at his new look. Jung agreed it looked great, his voice tinged with surprise. Min leaned closer, excited to move on with their day. In her thoughts, Min noted how handsome Jung looked with his new hairstyle. A small change had made a huge difference. She felt pleased with the transformation. They spent the day watching a movie and shopping together. Now, at a restaurant, Min ordered a pile of desserts. Jung raised an eyebrow, teasing that she'd gained weight again, especially since she mentioned being on a diet. Min snapped back, calling him rude for a helper. Jung playfully apologized, jokingly saying he'd sinned terribly. His tone was light, keeping the mood fun. Noticing the cake on Min's face, Jung reached over to wipe it off. He teased if she was a kid making a mess while eating. Min blushed, caught off guard by his gesture. Min thought to herself, wondering if the new hairstyle changed how he came across. He felt different, more confident than usual. Min's heart raced as she sat across from Jung. She suddenly blurted out, asking if he had a girlfriend. Her voice trembled with nervous curiosity. Jung laughed, saying he definitely didn't. If he had one, he wouldn't have moved to the countryside or spent all his time with her. His tone was playful, easing the moment. Min, still flustered, made a bold comment about his impressive morning energy. She teased if it was because he'd been holding back. Her cheeks flushed as she stumbled over her words. Jung choked on his coffee, spitting it out in shock. He stammered, trying to process her unexpected remark. Confusion and embarrassment left him speechless. Suddenly, Nurse Kang approached, spotting them at the cafe. She greeted Jung with a casual smile. Jung, surprised, asked why she was there. Kang explained she came to grab a coffee, pointing out the obvious. Her eyes shifted to Min, narrowing slightly. The air grew tense as she stared. Jung's thoughts raced, noticing Kang's intense gaze. Her eyes seemed almost frightening to him. He felt a chill, unsure of what was coming. Kang's voice dropped low as she asked if Min was Jung's girlfriend.